maybe you should get that with a Rosemon episode because nothing says I'm an independent woman like my Digimon has jiggle effects.
青や強がって飛び乗って風に流って青空昨日を越えろ
Welcome to Pottages, your critically nostalgic analytical tour through the Digimon anime. I'm your host, Jeff Ruberg. This week we're discussing Digimon Adventure 2020, Episode 12, Lilimon Blooms. And my guest is my friend from Digimon Twitter and fellow Granblue Fantasy nerd. Thanks for coming on the show, Aaron.
Thanks for having me. Excited to be on a podcast for the first time with my favorite Digimon. It's a great combo.
Yep. And it's we have a couple hours on break from Unite and Fight in Granblue Fantasy, so
Yeah, time to not, just die from too much fighting, just ready to talk about Digimon.
So I have some questions as a first-time guest, and I'm curious just about your general Digimon backstory. Like, how'd you get into Digimon? What parts of the franchise were you into, and which seasons have you seen? And did you see them dubbed or subbed?
So I first got exposed to it on when I was, probably 5, 6 years old. Watched with my sister Digimon Adventure when it first came on Fox. I didn't even have an idea of dubs and subs then. I was watching Sailor Moon was my first anime, and then Digimon came on, and no, sister and I used to play outside, pretend that we were finding crests in the yard. Never found them. That sucked, but yeah, no. Liked Digimon since I was a little kid. I remember the Digimon trading cards for the anime came out at Walgreens or CVS in the area when the show was airing the first season. I got the Lilimon card. My sister did, and she screamed, and then I had to give it to her. So that was very traumatic. No, it was fine. But
Well, this is payback because you're on the Lilimon episode
yeah,
and
I'm on
she's
the
not.
Lilimon
So
episode now, and she's not. So haha. Yeah, but yeah, no. So I started out with Adventure, then went into Adventure 2, Tamers. I saw a few episodes of Frontier. The second I saw it was people turning into Digimon. I was kind of like, eh. So I didn't see much of that. But then in college, I watched Data Squad subbed. So there was a large break from middle school to college in watching the anime itself. But I played the video games, so the DS games, which are the terrible random encounters every 5 seconds, and then it's like Cyber Sleuth. I really liked those. But for series 1 through 3, it was all dubbed. Then Data Squad was subbed, and then Try was no subs, hard mode Japanese in the theater. So yeah, that was what it was.
were you in Japan during all of Try airing?
I was there, yeah, through all of Try. Wait, no, the first Try movie, I was in Washington still. Or I was in America still, but
Hmm.
yeah, no, for the Try movies 2 through 6, it was a blur because it's traumatic. 2 through 6, yeah, no, I was in Japan.
Okay, so I'm curious since you're proficient in Japanese and can speak and read and watch stuff in Japanese.
Yeah.
Did you ever rewatch the original seasons in Japanese at all?
Yeah, so I got the way overpriced Blu-ray for the first and second
Oh,
series. That was goodbye teaching money. But yeah, no, I watched I watched those in Japanese some. I haven't gone through all of Zero Two in Japanese, but that's a goal. Since I graduated, I finally have time to actually do something that's not research. So yeah, that's the goal. I'm gonna hopefully, now that I'm caught up with 2020 Adventure, rewatch Zero Two and see what Arukenimon and Mayumon sound like in Japanese.
so of all the seasons you've seen, which is your favorite?
I guess probably Data Squad actually. I really liked it.
Hmm.
I thought it was super fun. It might be influenced by it was the first one I saw completely in Japanese. But yeah, no, I really liked that one. And then I liked Zero Two because Shurimon's the best. Yeah,
Hmm.
but I think those are my two favorites actually. Adventure just got too much with Try. It was just okay, I'm good with Adventure for a long time.
Who's your favorite Digimon? I think I have a guess,
Yeah,
maybe.
okay, so favorite Digimon, I've got three, and two of them you probably wouldn't guess. One of them you would. So a favorite one is Bancho Lilymon, because it's just really fun, like Yankee Lilymon. I
Hmm.
really think that would have been cooler than Rosemon, to be honest. as a mega. I also stole that line from Aster, so yeah, I stole your line, but I've given you credit now, so it's fine. You've been cited. I also liked Doberman a lot, even though it was a one-off and Doberman got killed. But Doberman.
Oh wait, that was yeah from
Yeah,
Tamers
Tamers.
with
Yeah, with the
Alice.
goth girl. Yeah, Alice. Yeah.
Yeah,
Who was like a one episode, one off character, wasn't she? Or like I don't know. I feel like she was very random.
I think she was one of those things that's like kind of from Chiaki Konaka's uh, Alice obsessed imagination,
Yeah.
and was kind of just there and didn't really tie into anything else, and
I
was
mean,
like,
you gotta have the random blonde white girl that's just gonna run around Tokyo and be named Alice. Yeah, makes total sense.
I think there was like details in either like pre-production materials or interviews afterwards or something where I think Chiaki Kanaka was like, yeah, I don't know, maybe she's dead or like maybe she never existed, and it's like,
I
okay,
mean, of course, you got the Evangelion Digimon series. You have to have the weirdest take. Yeah, I know. Definitely. And then the last one was Pumpkinmon because,
ooh.
yeah, I'm basic. I like pumpkin spice lattes. No, Pumpkinmon though, uh, is great. Halloween's my favorite holiday. So, and then also Pumpkinmon and oh gosh, what's the rock one's name? I can't remember right now.
Gotsumon.
Yeah, Gotsumon. Their death was very sad.
Yeah, it's iconic. They
Yeah.
didn't die. They went to the dungeon, according to the dub.
Well, oh, in the dub they went to the dungeon.
Yeah, they're like, oh no, we're going to the dungeon. Oh
Oh
no.
yeah, oh yeah. Now it's like the Shadow Realm, classic for
Yeah,
kids.
exactly.
Yeah.
They go to the dungeon and then are never seen in 02 and never seen in Try. It was a very very tight dungeon. And so, who's your favorite villain?
Villain. Okay, so for the laughs, Arukenimon and Mummymon, I love them. They're great. Actual villain though, I really liked Apocalypmon and like the Dark Masters. I thought they were really cool, but like Apocalypmon in general, I had the faint hope when he was like crushing all of their crests that all of them would get megas, and then that never happened. So
Hmm.
he was the real villain, only giving the two main characters mega evolutions. Yeah,
Yeah, it's all his fault.
all his fault. Terrible.
And who's your favorite adventure character?
So I really like Mimi, obviously, and Koshiro. I like both of them. If it was O2 included, I'd probably say Takeru because he like punches Ken in the face and it's so epic and great. I like Ken, but the punch scene was great. Yeah.
Hmm. Okay, so here's my favorite question. I'm sipping my tea. Tea is brewing.
And is the library open?
If it's gonna be read, sure.
Yeah.
So what is your hottest Digimon take?
Okay, so these are pretty like lukewarm, like
Oh
everyone
no.
already knows these takes, but I'm really tired of Leomon in like general. I really wish that he would just be killed off indefinitely. Just like don't bring him up. Who cares? You've killed him so many times it's meaningless. I know he's like the Jesus, the Aslan of Digimon, but I'm really tired of him. Just yeah, remove him from or at least make him Saber Leomon or Bancho Leomon or something cool. Yeah, no. And then the other take is I never understood Ken in the Emperor mode having that frizzy hair. Yeah, I really didn't get it. And then like he has those cool glasses, but then no, those are his evil boy looks. So yeah, I didn't really get his hair going frizzy to super straight. That was very strange to me.
Do you think that it should have been straight the whole time or should be frizzy the whole time?
I think it should have been frizzy. Why's it got to be straight, man? Yeah, there you go.
That's a good saying in general.
Yeah.
But yeah, like as much as I love Ken, like he does look very bland once his hair goes back to being straight, and it's like, okay, now I have to kind of struggle to like him.
I mean, I guess that's part of his quirk, right? Because like he's like all arrogant, and I mean, this is all dub 02 takes. Arrogant and a really bratty person, but then when he has his straight hair, then he's I don't know, very meek or whatever. But yeah, I don't know. I enjoyed him more with the fun frizzy hair and the crazy glasses.
Yeah, I mean, I think the thing they're going for with the frizzy hair is how it's similar to his older brother,
Yeah,
has naturally frizzy hair and wore glasses.
and he's just wild.
Yeah. Getting back to the new season, Adventure 2020, what have been your thoughts so far?
Yeah, so far I have two feelings about it. Like there's one like positive and like one negative. So I enjoy this like kind of fresh re-envisioning of it where they're kind of changing how some of the characters act and the introductions and the order. Like I think that's kind of cool. And like the Holy Digimon, mythology, I think that's pretty neat. But it's way too fast paced. Like, or maybe it's just because the original one was like 50 episodes or something that it feels so fast paced. Like, I don't know how many episodes this season technically is supposed to have, if it's like 26 or if it's 50 or 5,000. Who knows, you
So,
know?
so the strongest rumor so far, which I think just came from like a Toei Europe website listing,
Yeah.
so it's not like the most set in stone or anything, but that listing said 66 episodes.
66?
Yeah.
If there's
So,
66, like, are they gonna get super ultra mega warp DNA digivolutions? Like, what are they gonna do? Like, they already gave them ultimates.
because people say like, oh, well, maybe they're leaving time for them to get to their megas, but it's like I think they would need like 3 or 4 more evolutions to fill all that time if they're going to keep this pace consistently.
I mean,
So,
in about what, like 4 more episodes, they'll already probably have all of the ultimates, and I haven't seen any of the titles, so I don't know what the other ones are
hmm.
besides next week's, but I mean, looking at the people left, before they introduce Kari and Hikari and like Takeru, like they don't have much more to work with unless they're giving them like Digi Egg evolutions or like throwing in something extra. Like really, they're gonna have a lot of either filler or just have to think of new stuff. Maybe I will get Bancho Lilimon finally. Maybe my dream will come
Oh,
true.
that is such a good dream. I don't even want to think about it because I know it's.
Oh, it's not gonna come true for sure. Like no, we're just gonna get another 17 War Greymon modes. Like I know that will happen, so it's fine. I'm not bitter.
All right, so let's dive into this episode. Let's dive into Digimon Adventure 2020, Episode 12, Lilimon Blooms, aka Your Ass is Grass, aka Do Androids Dream of Electrical Magical Girl Transformations, aka Near Automata minus all the empathy. So the spoiler policy for this episode, like normal, we'll be talking about everything that was in the episode on Crunchyroll, which includes the preview and next episode title at the end of the episode, but does not include the titles for anything beyond anything past episode 13, and none of the text summaries that describe the plot of those episodes in more depth. So, Aaron, what were your general thoughts about this episode?
I mean, this episode gave me some things I didn't ever know I needed. Robot, human, odd. It's not bestiality, robot. Like, I don't know what the term is, but yeah, it gave me that. It gave me some like, is this a Ghibli ripoff at the end? I was like kind of feeling Lapta like stuff going on. Also just general questions about how do these digivolutions even work? Yeah, that was pretty much my main question. Like, don't get me wrong, I liked most of the episode. I just was kind of like, I don't understand anything anymore. That was my feeling.
Yeah, I think I kind of agree with the general sentiment that like, oh, it was a fun, solid episode, like it felt like emotional and
Yeah.
well constructed and everything. But then afterwards, I look back on it, I'm like, okay, so what does this mean going forward? That's a little odd.
Yeah, no, like watching it was fun, but thinking back on it, I'm just like, what are the repercussions of this? Like, what does this actually mean? Yeah.
Yeah, so yeah, I think it was a particularly well constructed episode, but yeah, I think we'll get to the things that we found a little bit confusing or jarring as we walk through it. So let's get into it. So we start off with the Digimon Encyclopedia. We get Palmon this time, and we get a little interesting detail that Palmon's flower changes depending on the mood. Which I mean, there's so much like I forget like call it like the null canon, like the general Digimon lore that
Yeah.
is like every Digimon has these details, and this was I think it's a fun little detail that doesn't really affect the plot or anything, and but it's a cool detail. But Koshiro wanting to smell the flower is a little like it's kind of funny as a recurring bit. The Koshiro seems to want to like get inside Goblin's fur and like to smell
Yeah,
Palmon's
I mean,
flower,
he
but
wants to dissect Gabumon. He wants to, check out, the roots of Palmon. He just wants to do creepy things to all the Digimon. I don't know what's going on with Koshiro, but he needs a little help. Yeah.
yeah, he's a bit like a little mad scientist, but like he would never say that. He's too polite to say these things in person. It's just when he can talk to the camera.
Yeah, no, definitely.
All right, so the episode starts off with Mimi and Palmon landing in a hallway, and Palmon tries to vine her way up, but it's too tall. This I thought it was a little bit weird how it's like the chute or whatever they fall through
Yeah.
is so tall that they can't hear each other. Like Mimi and Palmon are screaming from the bottom, and Taichi and Koshiro are screaming from the top, and neither of them can hear each other. But they somehow landed without any injuries, and it's like
I mean, this is actually limbo. Like they're all dead. But it's just a recurring limbo fantasy right now, and that's why when they're climbing down the wall later, like Tai and Agumon also fall down. I mean, that's why Mimi got her, Palmon got her evolution so early in the series, because they're all just in limbo. Yeah.
yeah, I mean all of Digimon is just they're not having a fun adventure. They're just on their deathbed
Yeah,
and
exactly.
they're getting judged.
Yeah, no, but honestly, I don't understand how they survived the fall unless there was a cushion at the bottom or there were lots of, little Hagurumon that they destroyed, or I don't know. I feel then though they'd be made of metal, so then they would get skewered. It doesn't make any logical sense. I just kind of ignored it.
Yeah, it's the kind of detail that's like, okay, this is a kid show, like just don't think about it too hard.
Yeah.
But it would be kind of cool if they like explicitly tied it into the mechanics, like, oh no, it's a weird digital world. You can fall 500 feet and not have any injuries. That's just how it is. Don't worry about it. Like
Yeah, like
something that was like,
is there a magical warp, thing in the middle of the hole where they just fall through and safely land on the other end? Are there, fluffy clouds? Who knows? Who knows?
yeah, yeah. So like they wander off to look for a way up while Taichi and Koshiro are investigating. They can't reach a digivice, and Koshiro finds out that from analyzing the digicode on the walls that the basement at least was a weapons factory, which I thought was an interesting twist. Like I think it's cool how this episode is basically like remixing a bunch of concepts in the original show. So like combining
Hmm.
the ruins that Koshiro and Mimi are in the original show
Hmm.
when they're split up with the like Angemon factory
Yeah.
was a cool detail. And I like how the aesthetic of the two different levels,
Hmm.
like they're different but similar still. Like it goes from like the digicode in the ruins to the
Hmm.
like general metal industrial aesthetic below, but like they have similarities. So it's like, okay, you can see how these are related.
And of course, they have to make Mimi the damsel in distress and separate her because Tai and Mimi can't have a single scene together. That wouldn't make sense.
Yeah, I was war from the preview for this episode. I was like expecting like, oh, they're not going to have her be the damsel in distress. Like it's going to be like an adventure on her own. Like she's going to get to do everything herself, and kind of, but not
Question
really.
mark? Yeah. Yeah, no, like
Yeah,
it's not like she was whining the whole time or I mean she was doing stuff, but there's still, yeah, Mimi needs a little more like independent character development. Maybe she'll get that with a Rosemon episode because nothing says I'm an independent woman like my Digimon has jiggle effects. I don't know. Yeah.
yeah. So like even when she's independent in this episode, she's like being independently protected by Gargemon. So
I
it's
mean,
like,
nothing says I'm gonna guard you like Gardramon. It's in his name. He has to do it.
yeah, it's true. He just has to.
Yeah.
So we see Soundbirdmon waking up at Andromon, and then Mimi and Palmon realize they get to a big scrap pile and realize that they're like looking at the scraps and then realize that one of them looks like a Digimon. One's a piece of
Hmm.
Kagurumon. They're like, oh no, they're all Digimon. And Mimi wipes off some dust from something, and I guess is smiling a little bit while she does it, which permanently imprints on the Gardramon to protect her. And then Mimi turns after wiping off the dust and gets blocked by Andromon, who, I mean, it works for like the surprise and the dramatic effect, but I was like, how did he get there without making any noise? He
I
was not
mean,
standing there before.
he's the Michael Myers of the Digimon Adventure 2020 franchise. He just has to appear behind you and not say anything but "haijo suru, haijo suru." That's all he can say, evidently, when he's controlled. But yeah,
Yeah. So Palmon evolves and Togemon punches, but then in a single punch gets knocked back and de-evolves.
like, can we establish like Togemon in the original series is huge, yet Togemon in this series seems like compact as heck. Like, are there like specific
Oh, I
Togemon
didn't notice.
dimensions? Like, why is Togemon shrunk in the 2020 series? Do they not want to animate an incredibly large cactus? I mean, these are the questions. I need the answers. I know you have them.
I totally have all the answers. Yeah, I forgot how like in the opening of the original show, Togemon's like this giant cactus that she's riding through like a landscape and stuff, and here she's like, okay, like as big as Andromon roughly.
Yeah.
Hmm. I think it's one of those things that they just make the height whatever they need for the scene and don't really check the continuity.
I don't know if you have discussed this before on the podcast or not, but I noticed like even from like the Metal Greymon episode, it feels like the Digimon's art style is like really Tri-esque in some scenes, but then like the characters, like the protagonists are really like Digimon Adventure style. So I don't know, I find that kind of interesting. They're like mixing them together.
I mean, I think that the Tri general art style and aesthetic is great when it moves,
Yeah, when it moves.
and it didn't always move in Tri. So
I mean, when you've got such a compelling villain throughout the entire Tri series, why would you move? Your emotions are already so moved by that great storyline. Yeah.
so then Angemon starts to like ready his attack, and Mimi braces herself, closes her eyes, the screen cuts to black, and then there's some metal sound. Mimi opens her eyes, and Gargemon blocked the attack. without moving. This scene bothered me because I feel like I get what they're going for, that like he
Hmm.
moves while she has her eyes closed, so we don't see what the movement was, but I just didn't understand how he moved. And then they give this big dramatic build up with like dramatic music swelling when Gardevoir actually like rises after the scene.
Hmm.
And so it's like, so did he move to get in the way? Because like they're making this big deal about him moving now. But if he already moved, that shouldn't be that. So it was a little bit of like an awkward execution detail, but it's not the most important part of the episode. So I'm like, it's a bit of a nitpick to complain about, but
Yeah, like I kind of wish they would have reversed the order a little bit and had like Andromon going in for the attack, then Palmon digivolving to Togemon, blocking it, then getting knocked back, and then like having reverting to Palmon or something, but having like Togemon Digivolution be like, I'm gonna protect Mimi to kind of build up their relationship more. Um, Gargemon, I don't see it moving that fast to save Mimi because it's a huge hunk of metal. I think she would have at least heard it. She would have been like, eyes closed. Oh, there's something like really large and metal rushing towards me. That being said, love Gargemon and this episode, but that was just a general like, I don't understand how this happened so fast because he would not be able to move that fast, I don't think, even with the power of love.
yeah, like I think it's the pose too, because like if his pose was like him dramatically like defending or like standing in front of her, like I could, okay, we can connect the dots and be like, okay, he jumped out and made this pose, but like instead he was like still in the ground mostly. So I was like,
Yeah.
did he move? It was enough that I was like confused in the moment, which
I mean, he's just a Doug Trio. That's what he is. We've got the
you're right.
Pokemon
Yeah,
Digimon crossover, Doug Trio, Garchomon.
I was in plain sight. I missed it the whole time. Yeah, so we see Gargemon rises, lifts Mimi, and then we see like the video footage in his memory banks and see that her smiling while she cleaned him off was enough to like permanently imprint on him.
Enough for him to fall in love.
Yeah, I don't know how I feel about that love angle, but we'll get to that in a little bit. So
Yeah.
Gargemon fires a missile and knocks Crane down Andromon, and then they fly away. And meanwhile, Taichi and Koshiro are just climbing down the shaft.
Can we just mention about that crane getting knocked down on
Hmm.
him? He was out of commission for what, like 8 minutes of the episode from that crane. He's an ultimate level, and getting that crane knocked down 8 minutes, just out. That was kind of a little too far of a reach for me. I was like, if he was a champion, maybe Andra. I don't think
Yeah,
the crane would take him out that long.
I mean, did you see the label on the crane? It was like there was a big label on it that just said plot convenience. So
Oh, yeah, yeah, no, definitely. It was plot convenience, plot armor. Let's drag this out as long as we can to have the guys come in, and do nothing
ooh, yeah. While the guys were going down the shaft, which
while they were going down the shaft.
I
Yeah,
should just stop saying the word shaft, but
yeah, that was a mistake.
um, I was like, why are Taichi and Agumon climbing down, but Tentamon could just carry everyone down one by one. But
Tentamon also could just digivolve into Kabuterimon and carry everyone down at once. I kept thinking, oh, Taichi and Agumon are going to fall too. Like that just is an incredibly like this is this shaft that they fell down a really long time. Why are you going to have both of them climb down one by one? I was hoping for some convenient like falls and dramatic and have to save type thing, but yeah, that didn't
mhm.
happen. They just sped up time. So evidently they just spent 2 hours climbing down that shaft.
Well, while the boys are climbing down the shaft, uh, which I have to say it was a big shaft. I don't think it was a big enough shaft for Kabuterimon. Just
Yeah, yeah, no,
should I leave
not
in the shaft talk? I don't even know.
yeah. I think see whole I don't think would make it any better really. Just the convenient plot device. Yeah, the climbing down the convenient plot device. There we go.
So while they're climbing on the plot device, Gargemon, Mimimon, oh god,
Mimimon, yeah.
Gargemon, Gargemon, Mimi, and Palmon are in a big flooded room, and Gargemon sets Mimi down. Like you were saying, feeling like Ghibli-esque vibes in this episode later on with Laputa, Castle in the Sky. This felt like immediately when I saw it, I was like, oh wow, it's like that scene in Princess Mononoke when the like I forget like the god of the forests,
Yeah,
they're
yeah,
in that
yeah.
pond thing in the lake.
Hmm.
It has been too long since I've seen both Princess Mononoke and Castle in the Sky.
See, I saw Princess Mononoke recently, but I've never
Mm,
actually seen Castle in the Sky. I just went to the Ghibli Museum and I was just like, that thing's a Laputa. Okay, and that's why I made that comment. I have no idea about the accuracy of my statements. I am not representing Ghibli, so, take it as it is.
I don't even remember, like, is Laputa the robot or the girl?
Laputa's a something. That's all I know. There's a robot that's standing on the top in the garden in the museum, and there's flowers by it. Therefore, I'm calling it a Laputa.
Yep, it's a Laputa.
Yeah, it's a Lapras. Yeah.
No. So Palmon's unconscious. Mimi cleans her up. Gargemon gives Mimi a flower, and Mimi
Mhm.
thanks him, and his eyes blush, and like, I mean,
Robots need love too.
this was a little too hetero for me. Like,
I mean, you don't know that Gargemon is a boy.
that's true.
You don't have
Maybe
any
it's
proof.
even.
Those are just, those are your assumptions.
Yeah, I guess I'm the one enforcing heteronormativity to assume that Gargemon is a straight cis man.
Gargemon could be non-binary. You need to respect Gargemon and their pronouns.
I need to ask Gargemon for their pronouns.
Yeah.
It just like it felt very. It reminded me of like anime where it's like, oh, the girl does something and the guy gets a nosebleed. Like that kind of like those antics.
I mean, at least it wasn't nosebleed level. It was just a blush. That was just like a simple, kind blush. That was a crush. Gargemon, let's not. I guess we can't say love. Gargemon has a crush on Mimi.
Yeah. Also, like normalizing, like you shouldn't save people because of a crush. Like you should
Yeah.
just save.
So you
Anyway,
should kill them because of a crush. You should like fight to the death because of a
well,
crush.
that's Mimi's stance. Apparently, we'll,
Oh
we'll get to
yeah.
that though. So Mimi asks about a stairway elevator, and then they set off. But Angemon breaks free of the rubble before we dramatically cut to the act break.
I just like that Garchomon understands the phrase like elevator and stairway and all of this stuff, but yet cannot talk in this iteration. But then in Tamers, Garchomon can speak normally. I don't understand the rules yet for this Digimon and which Digimon can speak and which cannot.
Yeah, like I wonder if Angemon could normally speak and it was just because he was possessed, he could only say Hajosuru, or
Yeah, I need more rules from the Holy Digimon. Resurrect yourselves again to explain why some of you talk and some of you don't.
I do want to set the record straight because the last episode, when we were talking about the preview for this episode, I said something to the effect of like, I can't really imagine Gargemon being a protagonist or an ally because all I think of is in the original show when Genai or Genai is riding in
Hmm.
Gargemon. And okay, so he's not riding Gargemon, he's riding in a Mechanorimon. I was wrong. And also I was totally forgetting how Gargemon is a partner Digimon in Tamers. And so I was just wrong on many levels.
I mean, the first step is admitting you have a problem and you're wrong. Yeah.
That's easy. I can always just say I'm wrong. So we cut briefly to Yamato, Sora, and Joe riding on a log held by Bergamon, and Sora's worried about Neimon and their group, and Yamato reassures her that they just have to trust them and move forward, and Joe throws up. So,
I mean, classic Joe. Joe Senpai
yep.
coming in with the, stomach is upset.
I thought the visual of Bergamon holding a log and them sitting on the log was actually pretty effective, and
Yeah, that was cool. I enjoyed that one.
it made a lot more sense than when they randomly like fashioned an entire hot air balloon basket in the span of like between episodes.
I mean, can't you do that? Is that not feasible?
Sora has like a bag of survival supplies, so I mean,
With your,
definitely.
8-year-old hands, can't you do that? Like,
Well, she has a knife.
oh, she does have a knife. She's going to use it. She's going to cut some fabric.
That was actually a Digimon they found, Basketmon. They just murdered it and
Yeah,
rode in
Basketmon.
the basket.
Murdering, that's what these children do. They've just killed all these Digimon so far. Why not use their, hides to make a hot air balloon?
Speaking of that, Taichi and Koshiro end up in the scrap pile and they spot Soundbirdmon, get surrounded by Hagurumon, and then Agumon digivolves Greymon and burns all the Hagurumon alive instead of going after the Soundbirdmon.
I mean, can we make a thing? I know Japanese naming conventions, like they don't realize how ridiculous. But Sound Birdmon, that's just a terrible. Like Sound Batmon would have been better. It looks like a little bat. Sound Birdmon. Okay, you do you.
See, I don't know. I know that Soundbirdmon was the result of it was a winning entry in a design contest for Cross Wars.
Okay, I guess maybe a child made that. I shouldn't make fun of that name.
But I don't know if they came up with a name because the design is definitely the best part. And if they came up with a design, then like that's the important part.
Yeah, no, like the design's fine. I take lots of issues with this name, Sound Birdmon. This is just my flawed opinion. I apologize. Possible child invention of Sound Birdmon's name. Possible staff. Yeah, but yeah, no, burn all the Hagurumon alive. This is fine. I still really am bothered by this one not having any digi eggs at all. It makes me really feel weird about this murdering spree.
Yeah, that's something we were talking about this briefly online before the show, but like I find I could maybe understand like maybe the strategy this time is like, okay, this is for whatever reason we don't want to have Digitama or Digi-Eggs in this vision of the world. But Digitama are a pretty prominent part of the card game that's tying into the series. So I'm like, do eggs not exist in this world?
I
Like,
mean, if you remember from like episode 2, can't remember the name of the bad guy Digimon, but there was like an egg in that one. So evidently there's an
oh
egg at
yeah,
some point.
like it got infested, right?
Yeah, or like it appeared.
And also in that episode with the holy, I think it was called the Holy Digimon, the one with the flashback to the where they got like the info dump. I think they did show the digi eggs that would eventually like hatch into the main kids Digimon.
Yeah.
Like I think they showed them like, okay, we protected you and like set you up or something. I think they showed eggs there. So eggs exist in some form, but
I mean, if you think about it, like the main characters Digimon, like when they had the fight, and it was in Togemon's evolution episode, and like Palmon's like flickering, I'm like, so are they gonna actually kill off one of the main characters Digimon at some point because they've got this weird, we don't have the Digi eggs anymore experience? I don't know. Like the flickering worried me. I was just like, oh, this isn't just I'm scuffed up. This is like my data is going crazy.
I mean, if Palmon had died in that episode, I think the fandom would have revolted.
I mean, all the kids could just get antivirus software, and maybe that would help repair their Digimon. I don't know.
Oh, I thought you were gonna say instead of a Digimon, just like get some antivirus
Oh,
software.
oh yeah,
Just
no, actually, they could just get Norton antivirus, just wipe out all the enemies. Fast genocide.
oh yeah, really liked how in not Cross Wars, in Frontier they were really good. Wait, no, am I thinking of Frontier or Savers now? Maybe it's both. Wait, how did Digitama work in Savers?
I don't remember, even though it's one of my favorite series. It's been too long.
So yeah, like they're kind of blurring my memory, but one of the two, I think maybe even both of them, were very good about like they would ruthlessly kill a Digimon, but then we would always see a Digi-Egg float away afterwards.
Yeah, no, I think I remember that. And then like with the bad guys who did the frontier style transitions, like after they got defeated for good, like they had the little egg float away. I think I remember.
Yeah, yeah, like in Savers once Karata comes in and like starts murdering Digimon without the eggs being created, then it like explicitly shows the egg like getting formed and then getting destroyed.
Yeah.
So it's like that was a cool bit of like I would think that like okay they kind of like solved that so then they could use that going forward, but I guess they explicitly don't want to use that kind of mechanic for now. So we'll see.
We'll see how it goes.
Like I think in Adventure it was always so vague because it was like I remember for years as a fandom or decades we always speculated like okay so digi eggs get formed once they die
Hmm.
but maybe not in the real world. Maybe like the only bit of canon we had for a while about that was like the fact that Pumpkinmon and Gutsumon don't come back in 02, but it was never clear if that was because they explicitly didn't come back or they just never got around to seeing them
Yeah.
or not. Like, because there were several, like Leomon should have come back in 02 and they just never bothered to talk to him.
I mean, once he was crucified, what's the point? He's already died
Yeah,
for your sins.
this big noble sacrifice that meant so much and we didn't even bother to say hi to him. So,
Yeah.
because, he probably wants to be alone now after that. So getting back to the episode, Garjamon and Mimi reach the elevator and try to get in, but then Andromon sticks his hand in and opens the door. And I'll have a link in the show notes to this GIF that oh god, I should check who said it to me. One of our listeners on Twitter replied with the GIF from Terminator 2 that this seems like it's directly referring to because I forgot that in Terminator 2 there's almost an exact scene of
Oh, okay.
the Terminator like sticking his hand through elevator doors and opening them.
Hmm.
Yeah, so then Andromon and Garjamon fight a bunch. Garjamon gets knocked down, his eyes turn off. Kabutarimon saves Mimi as Andromon's about to close in on her. And I think this whole time Palamon's still unconscious, so
Yeah.
Mimi can't really do anything.
Convenient plot device.
But then Andromon wails on Kabutarimon, he de-evolves into Tentomon. Then we get basically the same scene again, but they're interrupted by Greymon this time, and Greymon evolves Metal Greymon. Get this new stock sequence of Metal Greymon evolution, which I mean is out of place in this episode, but otherwise is really good. I think so. Like it looked very slick.
I just personally like. I know it's a new series, so obviously they're going to do new evolution sequences, but I think the adventure ones look so much better than
Oh,
the
really?
current ones. Yeah, I liked the adventure ones, especially for Ultimate. Like I thought it was really cool. But yeah.
I remember always finding it weird how like Metal Greymon got this like CGI that no one else got. So
Hmm.
I guess we've had even more of that though, like Greymon and Grumon getting such a different treatment than the other kids. So and then Palmon also evolves to help out entirely off screen.
Yeah.
But I mean, at least she did get sequence early in the episode. But like
Yeah.
the thing that's starting to get me exhausted is that like we would never see Greymon or Metal Greymon evolutions off screen.
Oh, no, never.
Yeah, they always need to get center stage and stuff. So Metal Greymon knocks down Andromon with Chica Storm, and they're like so surprised that he gets up. But then before they can do anything about him getting up, he fires rapid Gatling missiles at the ceiling, and they have to basically Metal Greymon and Togemon are stuck holding up the rubble, so they can't really help until Andromon closes in on Mimi. Garjamon grabs his leg. Andromon just stomps on Garjamon's face.
That was so sad. I was
Yeah.
so upset in that scene. Like I got attached to Garchomon. I knew that he was going to be the sacrifice the whole time, but I still was very much like, oh. So sad. Rest in peace.
I thought it was executed really well because I tried like I was like, this is a really cool moment, like this scene of Andromon stepping on Garjabon, like it's really sad and stuff. I
Yeah.
tried to get a GIF of it, and only once I tried to get a GIF of it did I realize that like it was actually very limited animation. Like we don't actually see the foot move at all. I think.
Yeah.
I think it just like pans to the foot being on his not skull but like robotic skull. So I think that's a testament to this being pretty well storyboarded and well directed that like we don't even notice when there's limit animation. So that's a cool thing to shout out. But anyway, back to the sadness of the moment. Mimi says she will never forgive Andromon. A tear drops from her eyes and Digivice glows.
Mhm.
And Togemon evolves to Lilimon. And this sequence, you're saying comparing to the original sequences from the show, did you feel like this one felt, because to me, this one felt very, like based on my memory, I was like, oh, this is basically the same sequence as the original show.
It's pretty much a copy, but not as cool. Like
Oh,
the
okay.
original one had like Togemon shooting laser beams out of its eyes. Like, I mean, I guess sunlight, solar beam. I mean, I got to keep it up with these Pokemon references, even though I like Digimon more. Um, but yeah, no, I thought the original animation was cooler. This one was fine. It was better than Try, but it wasn't. It was a good try. But it wasn't as good as Adventure, in my opinion. I liked that one better. The scale of Togemon in this one, Togemon's too tiny in it. I don't get it. I mean, then you've got Lilimon, who's the tiniest thing ever. So yeah, but
I mean, I appreciate how I just checked the original sequence. I'll have a link in the show notes to a YouTube clip of it. But what I appreciate about this one is that like we get more of Lilimon posing.
you get more of her like Maho Shoujo like
Right.
transformation. Yeah,
Like in the original, it's kind of just like, oh, a flower blossoms and she comes out of it and then she kind of spins a little bit and then she's like, I'm here
yeah,
without any kind of pose. So, I appreciate that we got like her like showing her hands, doing the is he pose a little bit.
yeah. No, more magical girl, less laser beams. Probably 4 out of 10. Kind of sad.
But then, so once Limon's evolved, she tells Mimi that her sorrow and anger made her evolve, and I think we'll get to that.
Yeah,
Um, Lilymon dodges Angemon's missile, stomps on his head, which I guess was a neat callback to how Angemon stomped on Gardemon's head.
yeah,
And I really appreciate how Metal Greymon does come in to like quote unquote save them,
yeah,
but how Lilymon still gets to do like I was worried Lilymon would basically just do some purification technique and then
yeah.
wouldn't actually fight.
Like in the Dark Tyrannomon, just let me put a
Yeah.
wreath around your neck. There we go.
Yeah, exactly. And even Dark Tyrannomon is a champion slash adult level. It wasn't even an ultimate level. And she's still like all I mean, it's nice that she's showing like empathy and like not killing Digimon or whatever, but like it was like, this is what she needed the evolution for? To fight a champion?
Wait, Dark Tyrannomon was? I thought he was ultimate. I thought that
No.
Tyrannomon was like champion.
Well, I mean, I didn't realize that until this season when Greymon and Bergemon fight Dr. Animon. And I
Uh,
was like, oh, I guess they're champion. And I guess
yeah,
they always have been. That episode tricked me into thinking that he was ultimate. But
rip off.
yeah, so but yeah, like I really appreciate how she shoots her cannons and then the cannon like once it lands on Andromon it like vines sprout out and like encase him in
Yeah,
encase
no,
the whole
that was
battlefield in
that
grass.
was really metal. I was like, okay, so Lilymon, is gonna just make you suffocate in grass. So what I'm getting from this is Lilymon's flower cannon is the Nilbog milk from Trolls 2. Are you familiar with Trolls 2?
I don't know whether to say I'm embarrassed that I'm not or I'm like happy that I'm not familiar with Trolls
So
2.
it's this like terrible low budget like horror movie from the 90s that was made by this like Italian couple, and it was about like it's an anti-vegan like movie, but like they go to this town called Nilbog, which is goblin spelled backwards, this family, and if you eat the food in the town or drink the Nilbog milk, then it turns you into a plant and then they eat you. So yeah, her
Oh,
flower cannon is Nilbog milk.
for some reason I thought you were talking about like the recent movies like
Oh,
Trolls
no,
World
not not
Tour.
not the troll. No, no, never. No, thank you.
um, yeah, so Mimi lets her tears out after he's been encased in grass and dies.
Suffocates, yeah.
I mentioned briefly that Andromon didn't. We don't know if he would speak if he wasn't possessed, but I guess he does. The
Yeah.
possession starts to fade, and he's like, "What have I
What have I
been?" And
been?
then dies.
Dead. Yeah. Yeah, he could have helped you guys out, but you just had to suffocate him. Yeah.
Yeah. So then, after some time passes, once the battlefield is completely covered, Mimi puts the flower back on Gargemon, and then Koshiro clarifies that Gargemon and Angemon were allies at some point. Putting the flower back on Gargemon, I thought it was a cute gesture,
Mhm.
right? But like, he gave it to her to keep, like,
I mean, but Mimi couldn't pour out a 20 on Garjamon. She's 8. Maybe she could have poured some tea on top of him. I don't know. Rust. Rust, my nice friend.
But yeah, I think it would have been. I think it would have been more emotionally resonant if she had kept that flower on her for the rest of the season.
Or like tied it to her hat or something.
Yeah, something like that. But that would have, I guess, required altering the character design and
Yeah.
would have been a bigger deal. But
Yeah.
that would have been really cool. All right, so we'll get back into some of those topics later on once we get to questions. So let's jump into some 3-word reviews for now.
Sounds good.
At Yawning said, "Silent, steamy guard Roman."
At Andy Lucas TT said Terminator 2, Mimi's Day.
At Empire Well said, "Wipe of friendship."
At Megadramon22 said Mugendramon Cyborg's Flowers.
At CRM McRae said, "Bring Andromon back."
At Grim Catishian said Owning Your Feelings! Exclamation point, exclamation point.
At Gigajamon22 said, "Unrelenting murder machines."
Ursum underscore Reblek. Oh, at Ursum underscore Reblek says Second Noble Sacrifice period.
At 1 Foot Stout, "Rage equals sincerity?" Question mark.
At Agumonger says Killed in self-defense, parentheses, question mark, parentheses.
At Marfer9, "Those visuals though."
At Crazy Craig 134, Protect the Smile.
At Togetic2, "Sorrow plus anger equals good?" Question mark.
At you had a question mark intonation and question mark again. At Free Gravity, Polish His Chrome.
At Enurin Nat, "Power of Moe," trademark, TM2.
At What Not For, Back Off Tai Chi, exclamation point.
I agree with that sentiment.
Yeah.
All right, so now on to listener questions. So at Gigajamon22 said, "Temples are often built on sites of religious importance. Here's this ancient weapons factory below and 2 Digimon covered in grass, same as Andromon ends the episode." And I'll have a link in the show notes to their tweet, which they included an image of the top of the ruins where we see that there are actually 2 Digimon covered in grass. And they said, "Are they just repeating the adventure of their previous lives?" So yeah, this was an interesting finding because I don't know what's going on. Like if those could just be statues, like we saw statues in the Holy Digimon thing.
I mean, my limbo theory holds water. They're dead. They're just going back through it again.
Oh no, they're going through loops. Like, oh no.
Yeah, the timeline's getting reset. Homura, why? Yeah, no.
So I think this is a neat visual callback. I don't think it means anything more than that. I think this is equivalent to in Try Chapter 2. I think it is. Yeah, I think it's Try Chapter 2 when the movie ends with them fighting with like Rosemon and Vikemon fighting Imperial Jamon in that like nether space world thing. And earlier in the movie, Koshiro is wearing a shirt that has like, I forget exactly what's on the shirt, but there's like flowers, fish, and little like space things. And I was like, oh, okay, so that's just like a direct foreshadowing of like the battle that's about to happen. But it's not like, it doesn't mean Koshiro was psychic or anything. Like
Kochio said the marching fish is gonna come for you in the space.
Yeah. So next question from Empire Will said, "Great episode, but where did the roof go? They could have done a pretty cool thing and have the husk of Togemon holding it up while Lilimon fought Angemon, since it was important enough Mimi was about to be blasted." I think this is an important question to bring up because, like, yeah, they go from Togemon, like, Togemon can't move because she's holding up the rubble to, like, oh, Togemon evolved, and, like, don't even think about it. But I think the imagery mentioned here is even more horrifying. The idea of like when Togemon evolves, she just leaves behind an empty Togemon husk. Like that's terrifying and scares me.
I mean, it'd be really cool to me. Like I think that'd be pretty cool.
Neat. But like then we'd have to like watch Togemon get crushed or like the husk get like destroyed every time.
But no, think about this. What if Togemon's husk, while she's Lilimon, shoots laser beams?
You're right.
Yeah, no, super strange. But no, I thought that was an interesting idea when I saw that comment. I really think they just wanted a reason for Metal Greymon to keep being in the background, like, hey, I still exist.
Right, but Metal Greymon can't move. Yeah, I guess if they were thinking about that, if they were like really pouring details into that execution, then they should have, I think, had Togemon not be pinned down, right?
Yeah.
But, like, it's one of those details that doesn't matter that much. But this does raise, I never really thought about, like, in universe, how Lilimon comes from the bud of Togemon's head.
Yeah.
Like, in universe, what happens to Togemon's body? Does it just, like, disappear? Does it fade away? Does it?
It turns into pixie dust, all that pixie dust around Lilimon.
You're right.
I have no idea. That's complete, thinking. But my question, though, is when Togemon disappears, like, how does the roof's, like, extra weight just not, collapse all on and smush Metal Greymon? Like, I don't know.
I mean, he's Metal Greymon's gone, actually.
Oh, yeah.
There's no more Metal Greymon. Agumon's dead. He's not going to be the star of the season anymore.
Yeah, no, not anymore.
All right, so and you're in Nat asked, the crest of purity is expressed here as the simple purity of Mimi's emotions, and I find that a bit too shallow than what the crest can imply. Perhaps it's the over reliance on combat situations. Tai's courage and Yamato's friendship is similarly quote unquote pure. What do you think? One thing I want to mention before we talk about Mimi's crest is some clarity for people who have only watched the dub and some differences in translation and how the dub terminology versus the original Japanese term. So in the dub, I think we're all familiar with it being called the crest of sincerity, which I remember as a kid was a word I learned for the first time from that, but I think now makes some sense. Like she's showing her sincere emotions or whatever. But the original Japanese word, and I get them confused. Is it?
Isn't it Junshin?
Yeah, Junshin. Yeah, I get hers and Joe's confused because so I was like, is it Junshin or Seijutsu? But yeah. So it's Junshin, which means. I mean, let me look up the
Uh,
full dictionary entry.
So I've got it in front of me in
Okay.
Japanese, and I can just say it in
Yeah.
English. So junshin, or quote unquote, we'll say purity here for ease, but yeah, just take away like the Western connotations. It says like so lacking in impure things, especially like wicked thoughts or like anger or like self-interest. And so I thought this definition was kind of interesting because wicked thoughts would be anger. And
Yeah.
self-interest, she gets called and tried jikochu, so really self-interested. So I don't know, it's really weird that lacking those qualities should be, what are exemplified for Lilimon to come about, and then you've got Lilimon evolving, out of Mimi's sorrow and anger. So yeah, it's kind of weird.
Yeah, first of all, I don't like you were saying like the more like Western version of purity. I don't know if that's just a Western thing because I feel like there's like it seems like it exists in Japanese media too of like associating young women with purity and innocence
Yeah,
and virginity and like a pure shrine maiden kind of thing. And I find that really gross. So I've always
yeah,
appreciated the how the dub like kind of twisted it into being about sincerity instead of
yeah.
purity. But I mean, another like synonym for Genshin that I'm finding is like innocent, and then
Mm,
like I think that the other thing I want to mention for how the crests kind of work is that like it's not always when they get a new form, it's not always like a linear like getting better at the thing kind of. If that makes sense, like Joe's crest of depending on how you translate it, like reliability or faithfulness or
mm,
responsibility. Like he already starts off both shows being extremely reliable and faithful. And it's really that like he kind of comes into his own and gets new evolutions when in the original show when he like learns to juggle responsibilities or learns to not
yeah,
prioritize one responsibility over others. And similarly, like Sora, like her crest of love, like she I'm pretty sure like the Garudamon evolution unlocks not because she learns to love Biomon more, but because she learns to like let her go.
yeah,
And so I think there is something to the fact that like Mimi expressing these like impure emotions is
yeah,
maybe a like a sign that she's struggling with her crest or with her crest attribute instead of just she is becoming more innocent, therefore she unlocks her crest, but more like she's going through a struggle related to like for the first time she's trying to balance these like
like
pure and sweet and innocent emotions with this like
and then like anger and
yeah.
yeah.
But with all that being said, like I think the way the show handled it with Lilimon just being like, "Your anger gave me power, Mimi. Thank you." It's like, no,
So
what?
what we're getting here is she just needs to go full angry mode to get, a warp digivolution next episode.
Yeah, I mean, this is the kind of thing that like your sorrow and anger provoked my evolution would if it were in the shoes of Taichi would be like,
Skull
oh no,
Greymon.
Dark Digivolution is about to happen now.
Yeah.
It's just Skull Greymon.
Yeah, like my thought for it was maybe like because Mimi was so moved by like Gardramon's sacrifice
Yeah.
that like that display of emotion is what triggered it, and it was just like the weirdness of the phrasing of like your anger was more like, your anger about what happened and desire to like honor your friend who did this nice thing for you is what sparked my Digivolution. That was kind of what I took it as. But the exact wording in the subs was really like, your anger and sorrow. It's weird.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not fluent in Japanese, and I'm not even that proficient. But I did like what she was saying was like, oh yes, your Ikari fueled me, and I was like, okay, so they are just being like, I did evolve thanks to your anger, and I was like, oh no, um,
Yeah. Like I mean like
I,
the term ikari, like it is anger. So it's like the sub translation is justified. This isn't a complaint on the subs. It's just like I feel that the interpretation from that phrase is gonna lead to confusion.
mhm.
So yeah. I think though that it's just, we gotta kind of accept, like you had said, that it's not a, one to one, like they have to be 100% this crest for you to digivolve, that, there's kind of a complexity there.
Yeah, and I think it makes sense to me when I think about it being like the emotions expressed by someone who experiences grief and loss for the first time. That
Yeah.
like she is like if her crest or attribute or whatever is innocence and purity, like she if she's someone who's never had to experience loss before, then this being like the first time she's had to struggle with that, the first time she's
Yeah.
had to wrestle with these impure emotions. But I kind of wish that it was like if the narrative of this episode was that she had those impure and like quote unquote evil or like bad thoughts and then wrestle with them and by the end like learn to forgive Andromon. Like if she starts off being like, I will never forgive you, Andromon. And then by the end of the episode is like, okay, I've forgiven you. But instead
Yeah.
it's like, I won't forgive you, and now you're entombed in grass and you're dead. So
Yeah, no, like that's like a really big jump. So I think like you were saying though, if she had kind of like grappled with it, like let's say Garchomon was actually kaput like early in the episode for good, then she could have like kind of had some sort of like growth and through like struggling with those emotions. I think that honestly, like that kind of character development though would benefit from like a two-parter or a multi-part
hmm,
thing, but they're just not going to give that to someone who's not the male lead.
yeah, unfortunately, even though Mimi is like such a fan favorite,
Yeah.
well, oh well. All right, so these next two questions were both about Taichi's meddling, so I'm going to group them together, read them together. So the first one came in from Andy Lucas TT, and they asked, can I just say I'm so angry that Taichi and Koshiro stepped in to help fight? If anything, they should have found Mimi crying at the end next to Gardevoir. Never thought I'd say it, but can Taichi back off? Do you think their intrusion was necessary? Why couldn't the minutes spent Digivolving Greymon and Metal Greymon fighting be spent letting Gardevoir fight Andromon protecting Mimi? T800 versus T1000, which I assume was a Terminator reference. I'm not that familiar
Yeah.
with Terminator, so... And then Whatnot4 said, what are your thoughts on Taichi and Agumon meddling in every other Digimon's fight and taking away the limelight? The bias was not that apparent in the OG series, but this time it's all about Taichi and Yamato, of course. How do you think it's going to affect the rest of the series?
All right, so like my thought is like working with as like an elementary school teacher, like seeing little boys that act like Taichi all the time. I actually think this is more accurate of a portrayal, that they're gonna want to
Oh,
be their like hero savior complex all the time. Like it's annoying that he's taking away the like time for Mimi to have her spotlight and everything. But like if you think about like an 8-year-old boy with a hero complex and this big strong dinosaur that he can just kind of like have fight stuff, wouldn't it be more natural for him to be like, "Don't worry, I'll save you"? And then Mimi's like, I'm good actually. I can kind of do this." But, I don't know, working as an elementary school teacher in the past, seeing kids like this, it was really just like he's a what is he, like 8 or 10 or something? Like
I believe, I mean, they're in like fifth grade, right?
they're in 5th grade, so that would
Or
be
sixth? Oh, no, I think Joe's.
Joe's in 6th, right? Because he's about to go to middle school, right? Or is he in middle school?
I think he's studying for middle school entrance exams, and middle school is 7, 8, 9,
Yeah,
right?
so he'd be 6th.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
So I mean, he's like 11 or something, like 11, 10, 11 years old. I
yeah.
think that behavior is actually pretty accurate. Like, does it make me less frustrated? No, but I think it's a pretty accurate portrayal of a kid his age.
Yeah. The thing it reminds me of though is that like I think a lot of this was present in the original show. Like Mimi is it wasn't the evolution, it wasn't the episode where actual evolution occurred, but Mimi's episode in that arc where everyone else got to evolve, like the Princess Mimi episode,
Hmm.
like the battle in the end is Taichi coming in and saving her with Metal Greymon.
Yeah,
So like um so I don't think this is like completely unprecedented. And like we were saying before, how like in when Lilimon does get to evolve and have her big dramatic appearance in Tokyo, it's just to like quell a champion level. So
yeah,
it's like I feel like this at least is like okay, she took on an ultimate, did what Metal Greymon couldn't, even if it was a little bit contrived that like
yeah,
Metal Greymon was only unable to fight because he was pinned down, but like she still kind of upstaged him in a way that
yeah.
felt satisfying.
And she got to do it third in the series, which was a shakeup. So that was fun.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. I wish there was more shakeup, like Taichi not going first, but this is
I
cool.
mean, but it's his show. We just go here.
Yeah,
Uh,
you're right. Sorry. I hope I don't get canceled by Toei for saying that. Sorry, Taichi.
but yeah, no, Taichi definitely in the original series did do that savior stuff. I think he was a lot stronger about it in the like and more like intense about I gotta save everyone all the time, gotta be the hero, da da da. And so it seems like at least with like this iteration that they're giving a little bit more time for other people to also have the spotlight. Obviously, Yamato and Taichi are the preferred ones for the show heads, and everything, and they're gonna be the ones that do all like the main story stuff. But I don't know. Maybe with this 66 episode arc, we'll get more new DNA Digivolutions besides just like Omnimon. That would be cool.
I want that so bad. Like I know it's like the dream that like there are all these interesting combinations that could exist,
Yeah,
but I guess it's unrealistic because it's like they have to design all those new forms and stuff.
yeah.
But like
They've got to do character development. What? Yeah.
they need new character designs to sell the card game. So please make new character designs. Make new
That aren't
Digimon.
just recolors of existing Digimon.
Are you slandering Gururumon?
I would never slander Gurumon, but no, actually, I did like Black War Greymon and Black Agumon. Like that series is cool, but
Yeah.
yeah, no, some of them I'm just like, ooh.
All right, so on to the next set of questions. These are both about morality, so I'm going to group them together. So, at One Foot Stout said, with this episode hinting at the kids starting to realize them killing their mind control enemies is messed up, do you think the show will have them channel that towards defeating the big bad or make them reckon with the emotional consequences of their actions? And on a similar note, Austin LC23 asked, what do you think of this show's very black and white morality so far? Originally, the kids only killed outright evil Digimon like Devimon and Meowdismon, but now they murder any wild Digimon that attacks them and even control Digimon instead of beating Soundbirdmon. We also don't know if reincarnation is a thing in this reboot yet, like it is in most of the series. One thing I'll question about the premise of the first question was that did the episode actually hint at the kids starting to realize that they're killing mind control enemies?
I didn't think so at all. I thought they were just like another one bites the dust. Let's keep going.
Yeah, I feel like to us as viewers, we were like, oh no, not Andromon. But I don't know if the kids got that sentiment too, if they
Not
were
at
just
all.
like,
They were just like Terminators trying to kill me. Okay, we're okay.
yeah. I mean, I think part of how they dealt with Andromon this episode, like how they left him entombed in grass instead of just like being deleted or whatever, like, obliterated. I think part of that was that, like, because he's such a fan favorite and because it was such an iconic ally in the original series, they couldn't just have the kids be outright murdering him.
Yeah,
But it's still the same effect. So I don't know if
yeah,
it actually,
pretty much.
I think it like dulled the impact of that.
Unless the like hidden power of Lilimon's flower cannon grass is that Gardramon and Andromon will slowly heal and be okay.
That's true. That would be a cool thing to introduce. Or even if it could heal them, even if it just delayed them, and it's like we saw that like they walked off, and then after they'd walked off, the grass dissolved and Andron was okay.
Yeah.
Like that'd be cool too. But
If anything, I feel like it's just going to be a forgotten plot point. They're never going to remember that they have them entombed in grass sitting in the bottom of that temple.
yeah. I mean, I think I appreciate this episode. Like, I don't like how the show seems to be like, even if Andromon got a line, like this show seems to be so committed to the Digimon of the week and everything not talking.
Yeah.
And I think there are two layers of this. Like their English dub that I'm familiar with, like made them even more cheesy and iconic and
Yeah.
whatever. And like, okay, but even the original Japanese, like they still spoke and had characterization
Yeah.
and stuff. And so like I miss that, but I also appreciated the artistry of this episode, like telling this poignant story about Gardramon. And we all come by the end of the episode like mourn him and like think it was a really noble sacrifice, even though he never talked.
Yeah.
That's a cool thing to pull off. And I worry that maybe it's only cool for the adults and returning fans that are watching. I'm not sure if kids would care or if kids remember this that much looking back on it.
Yeah, no, like I think are they just trying to make like the partner Digimon extra special by having them being like the ones that talk? And
I realized looking back at like what happened last episode that Neymon talked.
oh yeah.
And they didn't like question that. They weren't like, oh man, another Digimon that talks. They were just like, okay, Digimon talking. But I think that was the first non-partner Digimon,
Besides
non-holy
like
Digimon
Ogremon
that talked.
Yeah.
Oh, and Ogremon, yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, that was the first Digimon they helped that talked. And it was like, yeah, I don't know. They don't seem to be surprised by it. So I guess it's kind of being treated as a normal thing.
Yeah, I'm kind of interested to see how it goes from next week and later on if they're going to try to keep up with this like some selective Digimon talk sometimes.
Yeah, especially if we ever come back to that plot thread of Lilimon organizing some kind of resistance, like I presume as part of that we're going to get Lilimon talking and maybe
he just looks at them. He looks at them very seriously.
Oh, that was one thing I also found frustrating about Try is that I don't think Lilimon talked at all the whole time.
But didn't he like say a couple of things like, and then he was just like in love with like was it Meikumon? And then that
I think
was
maybe he had like a couple lines, but it was like definitely not enough to warrant that. Like, okay, this is the Digimon that you saw murdered. You didn't see him for a whole season, and then he came back. Shouldn't you be like happy to see him? Should you be asking if he's the same one?
His role was just to be murdered again, though.
But they never even like canonically confirmed it's the same one. It could be a different Lilimon.
They just all of them, sprout up to be murdered.
Yeah, exactly. They're raised from birth. Like, okay, you're gonna This is your destiny.
Yeah.
Okay, so next set of questions I think were really cool. And I'm not sure how. I assume within a couple days will be like everyone knows this fact, but I did not realize this until we got this tweet pointing it out. But so the first question came in from Megajimon22. What do you think about the foreshadowing of Mugenjimon in Greymon's evolution sequence? So when I first read that, I was like, what is this BS? This is
Yeah.
silly. This is not real. But we'll have a link in the show notes to the GIF that they provided with this tweet, which I think is the best evidence that I've seen actually, because the GIF,
Hmm.
this one clip from the GIF, you can really see that it basically like it shows basically before Greymon starts to morph, it shows like Greymon flashing to the eventual, like it shows Greymon with like a blue, like overlay on top of Greymon, and then it flashes to red with jaws clasping down, and those jaws are not Metal Greymon's jaws. Those definitely look like Machine Dramon or
Hmm.
Mugenjamon's jaws. And so, continuing the question, do you think where Gurumon could tie to a Dark Master, and if so, which one? I'm happy to see my master coming back. That's a reference to the fact that the username is Megadramon22.
Yeah.
So, and they also provided that they would like to see like Lilimon tied with Puppetmon, Zudomon tied with Metal Sujimon, and Weregurumon tied with Piedmon. And then, sorry, the second question was Marfor9 asking basically the same thing. Is this Machinedramon? And if so, what do you think this means? Just a theory. Maybe he will get a Skull Greymon style Dark Evolution, but it's Machinedramon instead. That's where my head's at after seeing this.
Hmm.
That it would make sense for there to be a Dark Evolution at the Mega stage instead of the Ultimate stage, and for that to be Machinedramon would be really cool.
Yeah, I thought that too after seeing that comment, and I didn't notice it before, but when I saw the GIF, I was like, "Oh, that does not actually look like Metal Greymon's jaw." But yeah, no, I think it opens up possibilities. The only problem is like there were only like 4 Dark Masters, so are 4 of the kids just not gonna get Dark evolutions? Or are they gonna bring in other stuff too? Like, yeah, no,
Yeah, I mean, I think this theory spot out by this question that like each of them would pair the Dark Master. I think it's a little bit of a reach. Like, I don't think that's likely, especially since we saw Lilymon's evolution sequence this episode and there was no
there's no,
foreshadowing there.
yeah. I do think that it's like likely that Mugen Dramon could be a dark evolution for Taichi
Mm-hmm.
because he has that, character. I would like to have like no more Skull Greymon, so that would be great.
What do you have against Skull Raymon?
Skull Greymon's just creepy.
He's just a cute boy.
He's a cute boy with no like flesh. He's just skeleton, all skeleton. Um, I mean, yeah, maybe they'll make Skull War Greymon. I don't know. They'll
Oof.
just give me a 1-2 punch, Skull War Greymon. But yeah,
I mean, I think Machine Dramon would be a cool, as a Dark Evolution, would be a cool extension of Metal Greymon, right? Like
yeah,
take this metal aspect of it and like, what if it goes to the extreme?
yeah. I think that'd be cool too. I agree with that.
And like it's kind of just like the more I stare at the GIF of Machine Jamon slash Muga Jamon's like jaw in the middle of the evolution sequence, the more it's like it's creepy, kind of how
Yeah,
it's like hiding in plain sight.
yeah. It is kind of creepy. Was there anything in Where Garurumon's?
Well, no, but I think the only Weregurumon sequence we saw was like, I guess I was gonna say that maybe it was different because it was the first time it showed up and it wasn't the like thing that's gonna be reused every single time.
Yeah,
But now that I think about it, I think it was in like a nether space kind of background, so maybe it
yeah,
is gonna be the same sequence. I don't think there was anything.
yeah.
Not that I caught at least, but I didn't catch this, so
Yeah, but I think this is a cool theory, and if it happens, kudos to you for having great eyes and noticing.
I think I'm curious to see how they'll play it off because they're definitely in the marketing for the series, like continuing like the most recent card set of the card game had all of the Dark Masters and stuff, and it had like all of the original adventure villains.
Yeah.
And so I'm kind of curious if they introduce Mugenjimon in this completely different way, and he's not even part of like a Dark Masters organization or anything. Like I'm really curious if they're going to use the other ones in some other, like are they going to use the other 3 in some other completely unpredictable way?
Hmm.
Which I'm excited by that possibility.
Yeah, that'd be cool.
Like maybe Puppetmon's gonna be like their friend who betrays them. I guess that I think Puppetmon does that in Cross Wars.
Puppetmon. Oh, you Puppetmon. So many feelings about Puppetmons. Like exactly the same as your guest on the last episode. Just too long. Too long, Puppetmon.
Well, it's okay to be wrong.
It's okay to be wrong.
All right, so let's get into our final thoughts. Did you have anything about this episode that you didn't get to say?
Yeah, no, overall, like with all of the missteps and that I have like mentioned, which are my personal opinion, and all of the like, things I was like about, I enjoyed the episode. When I watched it, I legitimately enjoyed it. I thought it was really fun. And by fun, I mean incredibly depressing. But yeah, no, I thought it was a great episode. Besides just the weird, questions that I had from it.
Yeah, I think I agree. Like, it had some weird questions, but otherwise, it was a great episode. It was executed really well. Like I was mentioning before, how there was moments of great animation, like Metal Grandma's sequence. Lilymon's sequence is also pretty cool.
Hmm.
And even when there wasn't amazing animation, like they used Limon animation really well to feel evocative and to feel like just those wide shots that reminded us of Princess Mononoke and Laputa felt very artistic. And even if they are just kind of copying the most famous
Hmm.
animation studio, but in any case, like it felt effective and emotional and used its toolbox pretty well. And I appreciate the trend of remixing all these different elements from the show, like
Hmm.
the ruins from episode 10, the underground factory from episode 5, the underground facility from episode 49, like taking all these different parts of adventure and
Hmm.
remixing them in an interesting way. And I'm kind of curious to see if they keep doing that moving forward.
Yeah, I also think that if we didn't have, the title sequence previews for the next episodes, we had just had like, like it wasn't titled Lilimon Blooms or something, and it was just like the underground temple, I probably would have thought it was gonna be a Koshiro like Tentomon focused
Mhm.
episode. So I thought it was really fun that it was Mimi.
Yeah, yeah. Also, I just want to mention, because I don't know if we've actually gotten time on the podcast to talk about Drag Race, but like this basically, Taichi and Yamato won their mini challenges and then became team captains and then split off into
They
group
did.
challenge.
They did. They won the mini and then the maxi challenges, coming up.
Yeah, well, we'll see who wins the maxi challenge, but will they get judged as a group or as individuals? We'll have to tune in to find out.
I mean, I would hope they get judged as individuals and both have to sashay away.
Wait, who do you want to sashay away at this point?
Taichi. Taichi
Oh,
can
okay.
sashay away. I like Yamato is the cooler one of the two, so Yamato can be the new pro tag. Uh, I mean, in general, like Harry Potter, I don't like Harry Potter as the protagonist. I don't really like
Mm,
Taichi that much. I tend to just not enjoy protagonists for whatever reason. Maybe it's because they're supposed to be like the can do everything relatable character, but yeah, no, Taichi, I want him to have some humility at some point. He's also a 10-year-old boy. That's a lot to ask, but want some character growth for him so that he can let people have their moment to shine.
yeah, I find it interesting how, like, in Digimon fandom, I feel like very rarely is anyone like, oh, Taichi's my favorite character.
Yeah.
But for like, and I think it's the same thing for fandoms like One Piece or big shonen franchise like One Piece, Dragon Ball, etc.
Yeah.
Like the main character is always the most popular character. Like whenever they do the character poll, like it's almost always for those big temple series, like the number one character is the main character.
Yeah.
But then like you rarely hear someone who's like, oh, Luffy's my favorite character in One Piece, and it's like, how is this like? Whenever there's a general poll, it's always number one. But then like anyone you talk to is like always has more interesting takes. There's one person I follow on Twitter who is just like she's just like a huge Luffy fan, and she's
Hmm.
always posts like every screenshot of Luffy or like artwork of Luffy, and I'm like,
Wow.
oh wow, like there's someone out there.
Yeah, see, One Piece is just too long for me to get into. I'm just so overwhelmed. It's like case closed with like there's just too many chapters for me to even want to start.
Case Closed is intimidating because it's like if each one's a separate story, it's like oh my god, there's like a million stories. Like at least One
Yeah.
Piece is like a continuous narrative and like feels bingeable, but yeah. Yeah. So I mean, so let's give this episode a rating out of 5 stars. Do you want to go first?
Yeah, I'll go first. So Lilymon alone is 5 stars. But actual episode rating, I'd probably give it like I'm gonna be extra special here, like a 3.75. Yeah, no, like there were some things that I was kind of meh about. So those Dr. Little points, the guys coming in and saving and doing the like pro tag, shonen stuff took off a little bit. Maybe a 4. I'll round it up to a 4. I'll be generous. I'll give it a 4 out of 5 because Gardramon gave it that extra 0.25 points.
All right. I'm kind of like struggling between a 3.5 and a 4. I'm checking now to see. So I don't really talk about it in the podcast much, but I've been running these on the Podage's Twitter account, these like basic Twitter poll ratings after each episode. And it's interesting seeing the trends, even if I don't talk about it each week. And so far, this one is sitting at 5 stars, is sitting at 59% of the vote, which is the biggest in a while.
Hmm.
But the one with the where Yamato rejoined them and they attacked the fortress,
Yeah.
that one had 67% 5 stars. So it's not the rating, the public rating, at least from the Twitter following, is not quite as high on that. So that's interesting. So yeah, I think I'm gonna give it 3.5. Like,
Hmm.
because I I want to give it 4 for Mimi, but I
Yeah,
feel like there are enough like things it raised that left me kind of confused. And like I appreciate getting all this screen time with Mimi, but I feel like it didn't really like
it didn't really use her full potential. It was just her running.
yeah, and like her being protected.
Yeah.
And I wish like yeah, like a great perfect Mimi episode would have tons of her personality and doing fun things. Like even in a couple episodes ago when she like threw Joe's notebook, like that's kind of
Yeah.
those are the Mimi moments I crave.
Yeah, and the best thing about your score is it averages out to the score I gave it before I rounded it up. So it is a 3.75 averaged. I don't do math, so I can't, make sure that that's justified. But yeah, in my mind,
I
it
mean, I
is.
haven't studied math in a while, but you also gave Lilimon 5 stars, and I'm pretty sure that gets like an extra that gets like 99.99% of the weighting. So
Oh,
basically, it's a
okay, yeah.
5. So
It's a 5 star for that, segment until I remember. Oh crap, Andromon's dead.
so yeah, do we have any question for MVP? Is it like obviously Lilimon?
I mean, MVP to me was Gardramon. I was gonna give
Oh,
him the
okay,
MVP because he's just like, I mean, Mimi would have been toasted without Gardramon. Gardramon was definite MVP for me.
okay. Yeah, I think I am torn because I want to give Garjamon the MVP just for
I mean, rest in peace, Gardramon. Respect him.
I think it's really I'm impressed by how they were able to tell an emotionally resonant story without having him talk. That's
I
what's
know.
impressive.
Yeah.
But I'm also very impressed by like Lilimon, like her fight sequence, getting to kick
Yeah.
Digimon, getting to like use a flower cannon that like sprouted out the battlefield full of grass.
Yeah, her kick made me think of like in Cyber Sleuth and stuff. She does that kick sequence when she attacks, so it was kind of fun.
All right, so I'm gonna go with Lilimon just so there's some variety there. So next episode is titled Garudamon of the Crimson Wings, and we see, well, the description says Yamato, Sora, and Joe in a floating fortress, and it looks like we see a Cannon Beamon, where Garudamon fighting something, Birdmon evolving to Garudamon, an actual evolution sequence for Garudamon, which would be exciting. What kind of thoughts do you have?
I think we're gonna get lots of flying action, some flames, some get your popcorn ready. It's gonna be an episode. Yeah, no, I think it's gonna be pretty good, probably, hopefully. I mean, Sora is one of like the staff's favorites, so I think she's probably gonna honestly get more screen time than Mimi in terms of like character building, because I don't think she'll have something like Gardramon protecting her.
Wait, I didn't detect sarcasm there. Were you being sincere? Were you displaying the crest of sincerity?
Oh, like I thought that they like Sora. That was my thought. Maybe it's
I mean,
misguided.
I think they, in terms of like the canonical like ranking of the characters, like their order of appearance in the original show and stuff, it's Taichi, Yamato, and then Sora, right? Like so she's always like
Yeah.
third tier in that regard. But I feel like when it's like more subtle things, like okay, they're all in the scene. Who says the important things? I feel like in those ways, Sora's always let down.
I mean, she's mom. Like she just gives the
Yeah,
mom opinions. Also, I haven't seen Kizuna, so I don't know how she's treated in that one. So that was a saying that opinion without that information.
I haven't seen it either, but the signs I've seen have not pointed to good things there.
Well, then I retract my statement.
Oh, have you seen the short?
Oh
The
yeah, I saw the short, which was like, "I'm not gonna fight," and I was like, "Oh,
yeah,
okay."
I'm worried that short was great, but I'm worried the purpose of that short was like, here's why I'm not in the movie.
Yeah, I was worried about that too. That was kind of troubling. So hopefully she gets some redemption in the Garudamon episode.
Yeah,
Yeah, no, I'm looking forward to now that I'm caught up. I did all of the episodes of Adventure 2020 like yesterday and the day before. So yeah, no, that was intense. But I had to see Lilymon real time.
I'm excited to see your reactions as the episodes come out. I assume you'll be tweeting about them.
Yeah,
So
yeah, I'm definitely gonna, and I would be happy to help out whenever. Because even though Lilymon and Mimi are probably my favorites, I like most of the cast without besides Taichi. Yeah.
well, I'm glad I got you on for Lilimon. I'll wait until the next Taichi episode and then just
Yeah,
bring
you
you on to
bring me
torture
on for
you.
a Tai Chi episode, and I'll just be like, I have no complaints. He's wonderful. Yeah.
The one thing I try not to mention the because there's a preview at the end of the episode. There's also an extended preview every week that's on YouTube that you can go
Yeah.
find out. I usually find it by going to the With the Well homepage, and they have it as a news post every time, so you can like search the recent With
Hmm.
the Well post for extended preview. And the one thing I'll note about this episode is like I from the short preview thought that this was like okay, where Gurumon's going to be fighting this Cannon Beamon. Cannon Beamon, if you don't know it, I'll link to the Wikimon page for it.
Hmm.
It's a design I'm familiar with from Cyber Sleuth.
Yeah.
But it seems like from the extended preview that Cannon Beamon is the fortress.
Hmm.
So I'm like, oh, so Cannon Beamon's giant and they're going inside Canabemon. Now I'm much more intrigued.
Magic School Bus?
Yeah, maybe they shrink and go inside the bee.
Yeah.
But yeah, so I was like, okay, it's gonna be a standard episode. But then when I heard they're actually going inside a Canabemon, I was like, oh, okay, what? I'm much more intrigued now. All right, so before we close out the show, do you want to recommend anything?
Yeah. So, my thesis just got published. No. Yeah, it did, but I don't recommend to read that huge thing. I would recommend some drag race related podcasts.
Ooh,
So Nicole Byer does this great one called Drag Her. If you're keeping up with Drag Race at all or interested, very different community than Digimon, but surprisingly there's some overlap. Yeah. So if you're interested in that, the only drag race podcast out there worth listening to. Drag Her. Also, yeah, Granblue Fantasy. It's a great game to lose your life in. So, if you have the desire to just want to find anime JPEGs and roll for them, yeah, I recommend Granblue as well. Those are my two, I guess, big ones. Oh, and then like Nicole Byers' Why Won't You Date Me is also interesting, but it's adult content. So if you don't want to listen to that, then I wouldn't recommend that.
I'll also add to the Granblue Fantasy thing. Like Granblue Fantasy, I think I think it's my favorite game basically. And I know there's like a big stigma about gotcha games, and there's definitely like you should be wary of the gotcha. But compared to most other gotcha games, like Granblue Fantasy is very generous, and also like there's so much you can do that is not tied into the gotcha.
Yeah, like very generous. Recently, with like the latest update, like the paid weapons and the non-paid weapons like are pretty equivalent now. So, I mean, at least for like the next few months. But but yeah, no, like they gave away this past summer like 40,000 crystals, which like you need 90,000 to do a spark, so they gave you like half pretty much of
Yeah.
one. They have roulettes all the time with freebies. I mean, like, if you like anime, if you like battling random stuff, if you like turn-based RPGs, it's great. I recommend it. Yeah, you can do it without spending.
Yeah, and I think like compared to most other like compared to Fake Grand Order, where it's like the thing you need most in Fake Grand Order is a fancy character. Like you need, and not just that, you need like one character of every of the like 50 permutations of archetypes. So it's like you don't have an assassin AoE one. Oh my god, you need an
Yeah.
assassin AoE one, and you also need another assassin AoE one that is useful in this one battle you'll fight once a year. Like so, like it definitely like incentivizes like you need to collect all of the waifus to do it. But Granblue Fantasy does like there is definitely power you get from getting new characters for sure.
Yeah.
But like 90% of your power comes from your weapon grade, which is just like the things you work on as you are like progressing through the game. So it's basically like the characters are cool and they're great if you can get them, and they're great if you can pay to get them. But really, what you're building towards is this like base set of tools you use with every character you get. So I really appreciate that progression of it.
Yeah, and much more generous than Shino Alice. I tried. I tried that
Yeah.
game. I uninstalled it after a couple of weeks just because the minimal amount of crystals were not worth it for me. That was like Twisted Wonderland 2. I dropped it because the gotcha's garbage. Yeah.
Yeah. Twist Wonderland, like I could not get into the gameplay, but like the boys are very pretty, so
Yeah, yeah, good storyline, like interesting stuff. I mean, interesting, I'm putting quotes around that. It's a gotcha game, but like pretty good. But just the gotcha so abysmal, I would not recommend until it gets like a revamped gotcha. Granblue though, all the way.
yeah, like and Granblue also has a surprisingly good story. It starts off very slow if you're doing the main story, but
You can skip the first like 60 something chapters now, and then it gets
oh
good.
really?
Yeah.
Oh, so yeah, you can also like participate in event stories as they come out, and the event stories are usually really good.
Hmm.
And then once you get past like Aaron saying like 60 chapters in it does get really good. At the biggest barrier to Granblue Fantasy is just that there is a lot of like accumulated wisdom you need to know to do things well, and that's like the hardest part of getting the gotcha game. But
Yeah.
what I'll say now is now that we're both on this podcast, like if you join the game and like want to find resources, like I'll help you with resources, and you can join our crew,
Yeah, you could if you'd like to.
our queer friendly crew, and
Yeah, we are queer friendly. We are not like pressuring, like it's not a part-time job, so I'm not going to be like you need 1,000,000 points. Yeah, but no, I think it's a pretty fun game, pretty fair game. It's they're very generous. The story is interesting. A lot of the battles too, you could like they have tutorials online where people do them with all free characters. So
yeah.
I wish that there was like a really fun Digimon mobile game that I enjoyed that I could recommend. Unfortunately, Cyber Sleuth. I recommend Cyber Sleuth. It's fun. Hacker's
Yeah.
Memory, available on Switch and also PS4 and Steam. Right?
Uh, maybe I'm not sure.
Yeah,
I
yeah.
think
I know
so.
it came out on Steam and Switch and PS4. and PSP, but I mean not PSP, PS Vita, but that's dead.
Yeah. So I'm going to recommend, I kind of just recommended Granblue Fantasy, but I'm also going to recommend, also adding on to Aaron's recommendation of Drag Race podcast, the current season, the first season of Canada's Drag Race is surprisingly good. And if you're not familiar with drag race at all, it might be kind of hard to get into. But if you are
Yeah.
someone who watched other main season of Drag Race but didn't think that the Canada version was worth checking out, it definitely is. It's been like very high quality, and I think basically as good as recent main seasons of Drag Race. So
Yeah. I definitely push in that respect. I push Thai Drag Race Thailand because I feel like if you're watching Digimon subbed anyway, you're fine with subtitles. So yeah.
yeah, yeah. All right, so that brings us to the end of the show. Last week's Digiprompt was what evolution in all of Digimon is the best glow up and why? And my favorite response came in from JSean26, and they said Patamon to Angemon is the easy answer. So I'll go with War Greymon, going from big beefy dinos to the coolest Dragon Man design maybe ever, and arguably setting that up as a trend. Can't really beat that. I totally agree. I think the fact that they were able to set up this trend that like the Digimon fandom can't escape from is a sign
Yeah.
of just how great a glow up it is. So this week's Digiprompt is what Digimon ally from a non-adventure season would you like to see remixed into Adventure 2020 and how? Send your Digiprompt responses and general feedback to potages@gmail.com, potages on Twitter, or in the episode comments on our website, potages.com. If this is your first episode, make sure to subscribe on YouTube, Spotify, or in a traditional podcast app. If you want to support the show, leaving a review on Apple Podcasts is really the best way and is greatly appreciated. And share the podcast with your friends who will sacrifice their lives for you just because you wiped some dirt off them once. I'm Definitely Jeff on Twitter, and you can also check out my general anime podcast, Love It a Wee Bit, where we talk about new anime and decide whether it's worth recommending to everyone or if it's not. So, Aaron, thank you so much for coming on.
Oh no, thank you for having me. It was really fun. I hope everyone enjoys it as much as I did.
And if people want to keep up with you online, where can they find you?
I mean, you can keep up with me on Twitter, Zephyr Kaze, Zephyr Kaze Kaze. I mainly tweet like really random stuff and Granblue like related things. Now it's going to be Digimon stuff too for the new season, but yeah, you can keep up with me there.
All right. So thanks for listening, and I'll be back with another guest next week to talk about episode 13, Garudamon of the Crimson Wings. Bye.
Bye.
And remember, never stop digivolving.
虹を見つけたいなら顔を上げなくちゃって差し出された手が僕らをずっと強くする夢を掴みたいなら震えその一歩前に踏み出してごらんよ今ならきっと空を飛べるから
We have a couple hours on break from Unite and Fight in Granblue Fantasy, so
Yeah, time to not, just die from too much fighting, just ready to talk about Digimon.
yeah, the sad part is I totally did not contribute to the prelims yesterday because I was busy with other gacha games and Digimon.
Oh, it's fine. Like only two of us did, so we were tier C and not tier B, but it's fine.
There was a time when we weren't even tier C, right?
Oh yeah, no, there was a time when we were just like not ranking at all. It was like me and then like one other person that would do anything, and then I was like, hey guys, hey, let's maybe try. That'd be fun. Yeah.
Well, I'm gonna try during the finals. So
Yeah, I mean that'd be great, but our crew is like do what you can. You have real life. Don't kill yourself to rank in a game that's supposed to be fun. Gotcha games should be fun.
yeah, that's how Granblue Fantasy works. It's fun until it's very not fun.
Until you have gambling addiction, and then you lose your house and your life goes to the gutter. But
But at least you got Sandalphon.
yeah, you got.
Maybe.
Well, I mean, Sandalphon's free, but I guess maybe like swimsuit Sandalphon.
Yeah,
you got
swimsuit
him.
Sandalphon is
Yeah.
the important one. And now he has swimsuit Lucio. Like
Yeah, I mean, you got swimsuit Lucio. What's next? Swimsuit Shalem. Swimsuit Belial as a summon only because you can't play as a person who has questionable moral values. Yeah.
I've seen you bragging about your swimsuit Lucio.
Yeah, no, he's great. I really enjoy him. I specifically built an entire new grid just for him.
Oh, he deserves it.
Yeah, no, it's great.
Wait, this is a side question, but your handle on Twitter is Zephyr Kaze.
Yeah.
And is it not based on Zephyrmon and Kazumon?
It's not actually. It was in like high school. I had an original character called Zephyr, who was a wind user, and then I was like, haha, Kaze and Zephyr. Like, yeah, that was in the heydays of the weeb fun times, which I mean I'm still in, but I can actually speak Japanese now. But yeah, no, that was my handle on like DeviantArt and stuff, and then people have stolen it on lots of sites. So whenever I try to register with that handle, it's like it's already taken. So yeah.
Yeah, I always just assumed it was based on Zephyrmon and Kazumon, and then like yesterday you posted those Mamabot pins
Yeah.
with Lilimon, Zephyrmon, and Kazumon. I was like, oh right, I should actually ask about
Oh
that.
yeah, yeah, no, it was completely unintentional, but that was a fun like after the fact thing that like you brought it up. I'm just like, oh, that's cool. Yeah, I never finished watching Frontier, so I don't even know if I really like Zephyrmon and Kazumon. I just know that Kalmarimon is just such a weird name.
I'm just trying to look up what is the equivalent of bestiality but for robots.
Yeah, yeah. What is the equivalent of bestiality for robots? I don't know. Google, please tell me. Actually, don't, because that would be really weird stuff coming up probably. But yeah.
I just need to know. I don't need to know. I'm not asking you for any reason. Like, actually, I'm not sure. I don't know if I heard your full thoughts on Try.
Um, I watched Try, at the time it was going, and I was pumped and excited. And then the last movie came, and I was like, "Wow, what a way to end this six-part series! Can I get a refund?" At that point, I had already bought the DVD at the theater too before I saw the movie. That was a mistake.
Oh,
I know, Meikuman. I'm just like, you're gonna give all this build up and then be like, and Meikuman's just dead. So everyone else can be happy, but not Mako. No, no.
yeah. It's so like I think I get what they're trying to go for more like a more mature adult series. That like, okay, there isn't always there have to be sacrifices. You can't this
Yeah,
like shown an attitude of like, oh, we're gonna not let anyone die. We're not gonna have any sacrifices. Like
yeah.
facing the brutal reality of the real world. I guess is what they're going for. But it just I feel like the rest of the series didn't have the tone to match that. So it did just feel like they were saying we're not gonna let her die. We're not gonna let her die. Okay, it's okay. She died.
They already made the greatest sacrifice of all, which was just completely destroying all the characterization in Zero Two, and all the characters they're not mattering at all. So I think that there were enough sacrifices made without destroying Mako too.
But Ken was there as a design and not a character, so that's all
Yeah,
that matters
that
apparently.
that's all that matters. Yeah, no. Just and then like my whole issue is they've got all the O2 kids that have mysteriously gone missing. Hikari and Takeru have like no feelings about it. They're not like, oh, our friends are missing. Yeah, no, let's just not mention it at all. Sounds great.
Yeah,
I
yeah.
yeah, I know that's not Adventure 2020, but these are my unresolved feelings from Try. Yeah.
I just feel like that the whole thing would have been satisfying if we had gotten it like in a short period of time, but like the 3 year build up and wait between the movie, the OVAs was like
Yeah.
enough. We kept building up hope and like expecting it to redeem itself, and
And
then
if like in movies 5 and 6 even at least they had the Zero Two kids have some sort of meaning besides, oh,
yeah.
it looks like they're about to die. We have to save them off screen. Like their faces will not be shown. Yeah, I don't know.
I remember it be like in chapter one being like, okay, this is the way they're handling the Zero Two kids is so weird. There must be like some kind of memory erasing or continuity rebooting or something.
Evidently not. They just don't matter. We DNA
Yeah.
digivolve together and I don't like you. Yeah, that's what I'm getting from this.
I mean, they mention them once and then never think about them again. So that's enough for some people to say, like, oh, they totally addressed it.
Yeah.
You're nitpicking. It's like, no, okay.
No. Garbage.
Tries a whole can of worms.
Yeah. Part 2 was great.
Hmm,
Yeah,
hmm.
yeah, no. For multiple reasons. No, I thought the first half of Try was like pretty good, and then once the Patamon drama started, I was like, ooh, this is a downhill slope.
Oh, so you didn't like the bit in chapter three where Patamon like fights TK or Tucker?
I didn't mind that 100%, but I was like, okay, so we're going for edgy. That's what we're going for. Okay, gotcha. Yeah, that was my feeling, I think.
Okay, because I felt like that was chapter three, and like everything in chapter three was like the height of the series. Chapter three was like almost perfect. Like everything in it was amazing, and then everything past that was just like
Hot garbage.
completely downhill. Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, some of this ties back into this episode because like the way they treat Mekomon is kind of similar to how they're treating Injumon here. Like, oh, we're just gonna not care about letting him die, and
Meanwhile, like in the original series, Andromon's such a important character, but nah,
yeah.
you did. I mean, I had the realization today in the shower for the first time in 20 years that, where Garurumon, Metal Garurumon, Metal Greymon, War Greymon. Oh, they're like reversed. War and Wear. Ah ha ha. Yeah, no. It took me 20 years to realize that. Oh, one thing I forgot to bring up from
Mhm.
earlier that was about an earlier episode is so did they explain how Mimi got the tea? for Palmon to just make tea? Do they just have tea bags in this universe, or do they like use wild, random, possibly poisonous leaves, or does Mimi just have tea on her at all times? Yeah.
I mean, my pet theory is that she was like wringing it out of Palmon's head,
Oh
the
yeah.
flower.
She better have hoped that Palmon was like happy, so it was a nice scent.
Yeah, like the flavor of tea depends on Palmon's mood. So,
Yeah.
like, Palmon, you better be feeling Earl Grey right now. Oh yeah. Okay, so about DigiFest. Was it what year was it?
It was, what year was it? Oh, I've got the towel in my room. I'll see. 1 second. I just gotta go look for it. Yeah, no, I went. I think it was after part two. So yeah, it was right before part three came out, I think, or like it was the before that movie came out. But let me see. I've got the towel. It has the year. Pretty sure. Okay, it was 2017. It was
Oh, okay.
July 30th, 2017. That was when it was.
Hmm.
So maybe it was after movie three. Maybe it was movie between movie three and movie four. Regardless.
Did you see the recent live stream one?
Oh, I didn't see the recent live stream one. Was it interesting?
Mm, I mean, most of it was like video, like footage of the concerts from previous ones.
Yeah,
So I think it seemed cool that it like could do like a assortment of various performances.
but it wasn't like Granblue live stream level.
No, no. No, those Granblue live stream ones like put everything else to shame.
With all their games and stuff.
Yeah, and I'm just so baffled by like how dedicated all the voice actors are to the game itself. Like, and just like, oh my god, like I think that's the biggest testament, like the biggest sign in favor of Granblue Fantasy is just that
Yeah.
like even the voice actors who should not care about the game itself become huge fans themselves.
Yeah, or putting their money back into the game.
Yeah. Uh, who's the one that like has all of the I can't forget the name. The spear.
Oh, the Gislas.
Yeah, I
That's
guess. That.
Onoyuki. Yeah.
Oh, and he plays Gran, right?
Yeah, he plays Gran and Lancelot. Yeah.
Does he actually play the game or does he just collect
Oh
Gislas?
no, he plays the game. Like he's
Oh,
like
okay.
serious business. He's not as serious business as like Kato Emiri, who does the she does like Zero Carte and Harumaru
Hmm.
and Abby. But no, for the DigiFest though, it was fun because my friend had ended up having to go back to America during the summer and gave me
Oh.
like a ticket, and so I took the bus from the prefecture. I lived in the middle of nowhere. I took like a
Oh.
4.5 hour bus or
Oh
something,
man.
and then got there. I stayed in a hotel in Hachioji or something the night before, or the day of, or whatever. I can't remember, but it was raining.
Wait, weren't you? I thought you were teaching like on an island.
Oh yeah, I was teaching on an island, so it was like a 2.5 hour
Oh,
ferry or
oh my
three and a
god.
half hour ferry or something, and then it was 4.5 hour bus.
Oh my
Uh,
god.
yeah, I mean, I could have spent more money and taken the Shinkansen, but yeah, that wasn't happening. I needed to save money for goods.
I mean, Shinkansen, they're like affordable if you're a visitor with the JR Rail Pass, but like as a non-foreigner, they're like really expensive, right?
Yeah, if you live there, it's like 200, like it's like 100 something away, so it's like 200
Oh
something
boy.
round trip. Yeah, and if you're there on a visa, you have to pay full price. But
Hmm.
so I got there and it was raining that day, so I had my umbrella and stuff. But what's funny was right next to like the line where you're going into like the auditorium with it, like that has the fest and everything. There's a big camera, which is, do you know big camera?
I've been to a couple. I'm not.
Yeah, like a Japanese electronics chain.
Wait, actually, where was the location on Odaiba?
No, it wasn't in Odaiba. It was in Hachioji.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, it was at this like concert hall center in Hachioji, which I think they have it there pretty much every year. But uh, there was a competing line next to us that was to get Nintendo Switches that were
Oh.
getting given out on a lottery, like to buy. And I just remember waiting in line, and then there were these like there were the Japanese fans in front of me and stuff. And at one point, I was just like, "Hey, do you want to get under the umbrella because you're going to get rained on?" They were like, "Oh, really? You speak Japanese? Thanks."
Oh.
Um,
Oh.
yeah, but I remembered being really nervous because my friend's name was on the ticket. I was like, "Oh God, are they gonna like make me
Oh.
have to like prove that I'm not my friend and be like, you can't come in?" But no, it was fine, and they had a little. When you got in, there was like if you go up the escalator, I almost said elevator. When you go up the escalator, there are these little like mini gift shop things, and you could like they were limited to how many you could buy, but you could get like little acrylic stands or different stuff. And so I got some blind box acrylics, and I lucked out and got Lilimon, and I was super happy. That was fun. Yeah, but then the fest itself was really interesting. They had like the voice actors from the movie there, like Mal was there and some other people, and they had all of the Digimon classic voice actors for the Digimon themselves there too. Did a bunch of questions. They did some musical performance. They previewed the I can't remember the name of the song, but it was like something like Love Words or
Oh
something.
yeah, there was like a new song in like the fifth or sixth movie that
Yeah, okay,
yeah.
so yeah, my timeline for the movies then was really wrong, but regardless, it was in July of 2017. Um, and they premiered like the new song too, and yeah, no, it was a really fun event to go to like I'd never been with that many Digimon fans in a room.
Oh yeah, yeah, the song Aikotoba. Yeah,
Yeah,
Love
Ikotoba,
Words.
yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, but definitely would recommend if people are able to ever travel again.
And if they ever have live events in person again.
Yeah, exactly. Hopefully, if they just end up making them live streams, they next time it gets a little better. Um,
Hmm.
but but yeah, no, it was a really cool experience, and it was just really fun to see all like the cast members and like hear their little drama skit things that they were doing and like jokes about the series and about filming and stuff. So not film recording, it's not
Mhm.
filming, but recording. Uh, yeah, but it was super cool.
One thing that I wish I had gotten to see in person was the stage play.
Oh yeah.
That would have been so great to be there for.
I wanted to see the stage play, but the stage play started the week after I had to go home for summer break like that when that was going
Oh.
on, and so I didn't get to see it, and so I was bummed about that. I got to see though while I was there the Danganronpa stage play.
Oh
They
yeah.
like Super Danganronpa 2 had a stage play, so I got to see that. So that was fun.
I've seen some clips of that online with like them doing cool effects on the screen, I think.
Yeah, it was super fun. And then they had Kanda Sayaka do like a pre-filmed segment too
Hmm.
for something that happens in the game, so that was fun. Oh, and because I think she's going to listen to the podcast, shout out to my friend Jessica, who was the one who gave me the ticket because she couldn't go. So thanks, Jess.
That's really sweet. Thanks for sharing those DigiFest memories.
Oh, no worries. I wish I like could remember like a certain quote from someone. Like it was all such like a super excitement. Tries my best to listen to everything and understand it blur. So, but thank you again for inviting me. It was really
Yeah.
fun. I had a good time. I hope I don't say anything too controversial that people will be like, we don't want him back on the
No,
podcast.
no, I think it was great.